So earlier this year, I saw this short pop up on my feed about growing sweet potato vines, and I will link that in the description. But I decided to try it out for myself. What I imagined was having a bunch of sweet potatoes on a shelf with a cascading vine wall near my window. That did not happen, but let's get into the journey. So on April 8th, I'm walking to the grocery store to get the sweet potato. They only had two varieties, a reddish purplish skin and then the brown skin, and I picked the brown one because it was cheaper and I wanted smaller potatoes so that I wouldn't waste as much if it didn't work out. So I got the two smallest potatoes I could find for 74 cents. I also got some cookies and cream ice cream. What I did when I got back was I rinsed off the potatoes and put them into a takeout container filled with water. I laid them out horizontally because I wasn't sure which end the sprouts might come from, so I didn't want to stick it upright in a cup. 5 days later, I'm just checking them. They have a couple of these white spots that I think are the roots pushing out. Okay, 6 days later, you can see there's a couple more white little hairs that, again, I think are the roots. About 2 weeks later, you can see root hairs and roots coming out, but only on one potato. The other potato is struggling a little bit. About a month later, you can see that the root system is much more wild, but there's actually no leaves or shoots or what are called the sweet potato slips. However, where you can see me pointing, there are these thick purple growths that are the start of the sprouts or the slips. On this other struggling potato, it's actually growing kind of well. You can see there's one root that looks kind of like a centipede. And if you can see there's this purple thing. If I stop turning the potato, yeah, that purple thing, that is a slip. And I think it's purple because it just hasn't gotten enough light yet. But that is so cool. Okay, a couple of days later, you can see that the slip is growing a lot of baby leaves and is even coming out with its own roots. And it's growing real fast now. You can see how cool the veins, I don't know how to pronounce it, for the sweet potato leaves look. And yeah, no and. Oh, and on my other sweet potato, it is also starting to grow a slip. A couple of them. Okay, we're now at the 6-week mark. You can see how the plants are doing. And a month and 2 weeks later, it's doing pretty well, I would say. And a month and 2 weeks later, the plant that was actually struggling is now thriving, as you can see. It's reaching up for the light. The other one, it's not doing so well. A few days later, that's what it looks like. And at 8 weeks, I believe what happened was I threw out the other potato because it was rotting so bad. But this one, the one that was initially struggling, is doing so well. It's pushed out 2 slips that I've let grow into long vines. And then there's even another slip growing. Okay, now this is a slip that I plucked off of the other potato that I threw out. I composted it. And this one, as you can see, it is growing its own roots, so I can transplant it into soil or another bucket of water. And here it is at 9 weeks. There's continually new growth at different parts of the slip. And I also taped it to my window, but the tape was not good. Actually, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut the vine because I can actually propagate it. And as you can see on the vine, there are these little bumpy spots, which I believe if you put it in water, more roots will grow from there, which is why you can try to propagate even just the stem without any leaves. So I just put it in water, and this looks very nice itself. And I'm also putting the stems, the cuttings, into water and seeing how they do. So this tiny sweet potato plant that I plucked off of the rotting one, I put it into soil outside, and at first I was worried that it might die under the direct sun, but it acclimated very well without me doing much of anything, or anything at all. And as you can see, on the next day, I'm pulling out that little stem, and a root is already growing out of it. And the same thing with those leaf cuttings that I took. You can see there's some white roots popping out. And the next day they've grown a little bit longer. So they grow very fast. It's pretty easy to grow, I would say. Okay, so then a few days later, now that the roots were longer, I stuck them into soil as well. You can see at about 12 weeks since I got the potatoes, but I think it's about a month from transplanting it into the soil, this plant is growing. It's doing very well. There's new leaves. But the other ones that I put in, they didn't grow new leaves. So I think, I don't know, you probably have to have a more established root system. This is the cutting that I took from the main vine. And I transplanted it also, and you can see how much those roots grew. This pot is probably too small, but there's too much to manage. And this is how beautiful the vine is. I left this one outside without acclimation either. Now those stems that I tried to propagate died. But this plant is still growing very well. This one, no new leaves, no new growth, but yeah, that's all I have to say for it. It's still alive though, it's still green. At 17 weeks, this plant is doing very well. Even though the pot is flooded from rain, not me. Okay, at 18 weeks, my potato was so rotten. As you can see, it's mushy. It looks like I roasted it. That's because it was sitting in water. This is how long it's grown. Oh, this is the one that's still in the bottle, in the cup. So I'm not really sure what's going on. But I decided to finally put my mushy potato into soil. I wasn't sure if I wanted to remove the actual potato, but I think it'll just give it more nutrients. It'll be like compost. Okay, and here is the potato at around 21 weeks. It transplanted very well into the soil, and you can see there's new growth. And of course some leaves do die. I believe the one that I had in the bottle, I put it into the soil because I didn't have any room for it, into the garden, the ground, and it's grown pretty well that it even sent out new roots where it was touching the ground, and I accidentally pulled them out when I was looking at the vine. That's fine. Now, I think maybe there's not enough nutrients or I overwatered them or something, but they are getting a little bit brown and they look a little bit diseased. But it's fine because it's fall now. They're preparing for death. The cold, harsh winter, they're not going to be able to make it, so I'm just leaving them to be. And I just also taped it up with painter's tape. At around 27 weeks, or about 6 months from when I bought the potatoes, but this is actually, I think, around 4 months since I transplanted them into the soil, I dug it up because the plants were dying and I wanted to use the bucket for something else. And it was so fun because they just kept coming, but they were really tiny, so I'm definitely encouraged to try again next year, start earlier, give them a bigger bucket. But yeah, here is that footage of me getting excited. It was like a treasure hunt. This was outside. The plant was dying. I cut it off. But here I pulled out the root and it looks like a baby sweet potato forming. Now I don't know how long it's been, but cool. It's so dark here, I'm sorry. Okay, I literally just pulled this out. Look at that sweet potato. Oh my god. Oh, let's see if I can pull out any more. I'm struggling. Okay. Here's the entire root system. Ooh, look at that. Okay, it's so dark here. Okay, so here it is. All lit up. Oh, these are so tiny because I did not mean to grow them. But isn't that so cool? I want to try growing them next year. Let's see. Is there anything else? Oh, there's this. Whoa. That's so, like, productive. Let's see if there's any more. Oh, look at that. Oh my god. There's more. Oh my god. There's so many tiny potatoes. It's okay, Yoshi. It's okay. Okay, this is that pot from outside. Already pulled out the other one. Look at that. There's a little potato growing off of it. And even some spuds. There's a spud there. But anyway, I'm gonna dig and see. What's it? Oh, look at that. Oh my god. And let's see this one. That's not really anything, but I'm sure it's edible still, so I'm gonna eat it. Okay, so another fun fact about sweet potatoes that you may know already is that you can actually eat the leaves. I've never tried this variety with the orange inside sweet potato. I've tried them from the Chinese supermarket, which I believe those are from different potatoes, but nonetheless, I think they should taste the same. I would be interested in trying these ones, but I didn't grow a substantial amount. But maybe in the future, I will make a video showing different ways to cook them. Oh, I don't think there's anything else. I don't feel anything. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Oh my god! A little potato! Wow, this one was good. It's actually really good. Here's me frying up that sweet potato harvest. I just cut them into little coins and slivers and put them in a pan with oil. And since they're so thin and tiny, they fry it real fast. And it tasted like actual sweet potatoes. Maybe not as sweet. Actually, no. As sweet. It tasted like a regular sweet potato. Okay, thank you for watching and embarking on this sweet potato journey.